Chapter 3860. Listening to Chu Yunxiang's words, Bailey Hongzhuang sneered in her heart. Every time Chu Yunyao appeared, she clamored to take their lives. Now it was just a few dozen slaps, and she said that she had been taught a lesson? If she wanted to teach Chu Yunyao a lesson, it would not be so simple. I'm just helping Yingying get back the interest now. It's up to my Yingying whether to let it go or not. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled slightly, and her eyes turned to Shangguan Yingying behind her. Shangguan Yingying was insulted and tortured by Chu Yunyao because of her, so she came here this time to let Shangguan Yingying vent her anger. With Bailey Hongzhuang's voice falling, everyone's eyes couldn't help but fall on Shangguan Yingying. Everyone clearly remembered that last time Bailey Hongzhuang and her party came to Chu Yunyao to make trouble, in order to find Shangguan Yingying. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang and others came here as soon as they came back. There was no doubt that it was also for Shangguan Yingying. It could be seen that Shangguan Yingying's weight in their team was not light. Shangguan Yingying looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in front of her, and there was a touched smile in the corner of her eyes. She knew that Hongzhuang did this to help her get back her face and to make her happy. She really hated Chu Yunyao to the extreme, but now after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and others doing this for her, she was also very moved in her heart, and her original anger dissipated a lot. After all, although Chu Yunyao's last practice hurt her, after that incident, she had grown a lot. She was no longer as naive as before, and gradually became mature. However, she still wouldn't let Chu Yunyao go. This woman was really hateful. She not only wanted to hurt her, but also wanted Hongzhuang's life. If she was kept alive, it would definitely cause trouble. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang like this, Chu Yunxiang felt helpless, but she also knew that if Shangguan Yingying didn't let go of Chu Yunyao, then Bailey Hongzhuang would never stop. Thinking of this, Chu Yunxiang's eyes also turned to Shangguan Yingying. Sister Shangguan, Chu Yunyao has been taught a lesson. I wonder if you can let her go? Chu Yunxiang was also very helpless. With her status in the Penglai Palace, she did not expect that she would have to plead with a junior sister who had just entered the Penglai Inner Palace. This feeling was really difficult to describe. Sister, why are you begging her for mercy? Chu Yunyao's face was full of resentment. Even though she had been tightly clamped in the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang, she was still restless. Yunyao. Chu Yunxiang frowned. Shangguan Yingying chuckled and said, Chu Yunxiang, you are pleading for Chu Yunyao like this, but she doesn't seem to appreciate your kindness. Shangguan Yingying, don't be arrogant there. It's just a fox pretending to be a tiger. A guy like you wants me to beg for mercy. It's a fool's dream. I really regret that I didn't kill you directly at that time, and let you have the chance to jump here. As soon as these words came out, Shangguan Yingying's eyes also showed a touch of coldness. In that case, we don't have to be polite. Hongzhuang. Shangguan Yingying winked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, the corners of her mouth raised, and said, I know what to do. Bailey Hongzhuang, what do you want? Chu Yunyao looked at Bailey Hongzhuang coldly. She didn't believe that Bailey Hongzhuang would dare to kill her in front of everyone. Chapter 3861. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and said with a chuckle, You should be able to guess what I'm thinking. You. If you kill me, there will definitely be trouble. Chu Yunyao said coldly. Listening to Chu Yunyao's words, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but sneer. This Chu Yunyao really didn't know that she was about to die. I'll be in trouble? Just based on the current you, do you have the qualifications to get me into trouble? My sister and Yunjun will not let you go. Chu Yunyao's face was without fear, as if she was certain that Bailey Hongzhuang did not dare to attack her at all. Don't think that you are amazing just because you have reached the Star Realm. Yunjun is also a cultivator of the Star Realm, and my sister will soon break through to the Star Realm. If you dare to attack me now, it won't be long before they will take your life. Yunyao. What nonsense are you talking about? Chu Yunxiang's face was also very ugly. She knew that Chu Yunyao had always been unwilling to admit defeat, especially in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. She was even more unwilling to lower her posture. However, the current situation was completely that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had the upper hand. Chu Yunyao's words now were just to provoke Bailey Hongzhuang. It was completely suicidal. She had already warned Chu Yunyao just now, but Chu Yunyao didn't seem to understand what she said and didn't understand the meaning of her warning at all. He Yunjun had indeed broken through to the Star Realm, but Bailey Hongzhuang, who had reached the Star Realm, was definitely not to be underestimated, because she was the inheritor of the Blood Refining Tower and the Demon Refining Tower. Moreover, Bewitching and the others were not to be trifled with. Although she was not far from the Star Realm, she had not broken through yet, and there was always a big gap. The most important thing was that He Yunjun was not here at all. For them, the most important thing now was to stall for time, hoping that He Yunjun could rush over after knowing what was going on here. Otherwise, if Bailey Hongzhuang really wanted to take Chu Yunyao's life, she would not be able to stop it. Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. Her lips curled into a mocking smile. Are you threatening me? So what if I threaten you? Chu Yunyao looked at Bailey Hongzhuang coldly. Her hateful eyes could not wait to tear Bailey Hongzhuang into pieces. She didn't want to admit that she wasn't as beautiful as Bailey Hongzhuang. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation had surpassed hers, she couldn't compare to Bailey Hongzhuang in every aspect. Her hatred for Bailey Hongzhuang had reached its peak. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, she had been taught a lesson without being able to fight back. Her face had been beaten to such a state. In addition, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had told her the past that she was most unwilling to talk about. She was about to go crazy from anger. You really have guts. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged. However, I have never liked to be threatened. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang's hand directly grabbed Chu Yunyao's neck. You actually said that I didn't dare to do it. Then I will do it for you. Her 5 fingers gradually exerted force. Bailey Hongzhuang directly lifted Chu Yunyao up with one hand. The murderous intent in her eyes continued to rise. She had never intended to let Chu Yunyao go. What she had done before was just to help Shangguan Yinying vent her anger. After all, if Chu Yunyao died so easily, it would be too easy for her. Chapter 3862. Chu Yunyao only felt a sense of suffocation gradually coming. She couldn't breathe. Her face was swollen and purple. Her hands were constantly struggling to get out of Bailey Hongzhuang's control. However, under the suppression of the other party's breath, it was very difficult for her to move. She didn't believe that Bailey Hongzhuang dared to kill her like this, but when she felt that Bailey Hongzhuang still had no intention of letting go, she was really scared at this moment. Her hands tightly grasped Bailey Hongzhuang's hand on her neck, just wanting Bailey Hongzhuang to let go and give her a chance to breathe. It was a pity that Bailey Hongzhuang was obviously trying to kill her. No matter how she struggled, Bailey Hongzhuang's hand did not loosen even a little bit. Let me go. Chu Yunyao shouted with all her strength, but in this case, her voice was as small as a fly's. After seeing this scene, Chu Yunshang's face quickly climbed with panic. She didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be so powerful. She directly wanted to take Chu Yunyao's life. After all, Chu Yunyao shouldn't have stimulated her just now, otherwise things wouldn't have become like this. Bailey Hongzhuang, let her go. Chu Yunshang shouted. However, Bailey Hongzhuang just glanced at Chu Yunshang lightly, but ignored her at all. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's ruthless action, the people around couldn't help but change their expressions. Chu Yunyao really fell this time. Just now, she thought that Bailey Hongzhuang didn't dare to really do anything to her. Now, she directly gave her a loud slap. It's not Chu Yunyao's own fault. The situation has become like this just now. She even dared to provoke Bailey Hongzhuang. If she doesn't die, who will? If Chu Yunyao really dies this time, it's not bad. Anyway, I don't like her very much. The cultivators shook their heads and sighed, their eyes full of indifference. They really didn't have a good impression of Chu Yunyao and the others, so naturally, they wouldn't be sad about her death. On the contrary, for Chu Yunyao, who always took advantage of others' power, death was a lot easier for them. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang ignored her words and Chu Yunyao was about to die, Chu Yunshang did not dare to delay and immediately attacked Bailey Hongzhuang. However, just as Chu Yunshang made her move, a burst of qi came and blocked her attack. Bang! Chu Yunshang fell heavily to the ground, her face pale, looking at the cultivator who attacked her in shock. He saw Bewitching standing beside Bailey Hongzhuang. Just now, he had casually waved his hand and blocked Chu Yunshang's attack. Chu Yunshang's eyes were full of resentment, but when she thought of her own strength, the other party could still repel her with one palm. This strength was stronger than Bailey Hongzhuang. How is it possible? Chu Yunshang was a little unbelievable. Although she didn't enter the Starlight Realm, He Yunjun was a cultivator of the Starlight Realm, so she also had a certain understanding of the strength of the Starlight Realm. Even when she was an opponent of He Yunjun couldn't cause such a strong injury to her. Could it be that He Yunjun was merciful to her? Chapter 3863. My God! Chu Jinfeng sighed as he looked at Bewitching. Junior brother D has also broken through to the Star Radiance realm. How enviable! The Star Radiance realm was a realm that he had always wanted to reach. However, it was so difficult to break through to the next level. He was still far away from the Star Radiance realm. Originally, he thought that Bewitching and the others were newcomers and should be slower than him. He didn't expect that in just a few months, they would directly cross this gap. It was simply enviable. Junior brother D's move just now was too cool. Renzime clasped her hands together, and her eyes were full of worship. This time, Chu Yunshang and her sister are completely out of the game. They deserve this result. Compared to Renzime and Chu Jinfeng's excitement, Ren Ziheng's eyes flashed with a trace of contemplation. Seeing Ren Ziheng like this, Renzime couldn't help but ask, "Big brother, at such a time, why do you have such a thoughtful expression? This matter may not be resolved so easily. Don't forget that there is still He Yunjun. Even if He Yunjun comes, he has just broken through to the Star Radiance realm. Junior sister Bailey and junior brother D are already Star Radiance realm cultivators. He is simply not a match for them." Ren Ziheng shook his head. "You are thinking too simply. Although He Yunjun is not a match for junior sister Bailey and junior brother D, he can find someone to help. He has been in the inner palace for quite some time, so he knows quite a number of cultivators. Naturally, there are astral boundary cultivators among them. As long as he is willing to pay a certain price, the other party will not mind lending a hand." Hearing this, Chu Jinfeng and Renzime couldn't help but look at each other. This was indeed a problem. If He Yunjun really found someone to help, then this matter would be somewhat complicated. Who knew what the final result would be if the two sides fought? He Yunjun still hasn't come yet. You don't have to be so worried. Ziren slowly said as he listened to Ren Ziheng and the others' conversation. This was not the first time he had heard of He Yunjun. This person's strength was ranked very high in the inner palace. After all, if Bewitching and the others hadn't obtained the inheritance of the Devil Refining Tower, it would have taken them a long time to break through to the Starlight Realm just by relying on their own cultivation. He Yunjun was not very old, but he was able to cultivate to such a level by himself. It could be seen that his cultivation talent was very outstanding, and he was a powerful character. Just as Ziren and the others were talking, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly loosened her grip on Chu Yunyao. Bang! Chu Yunyao's body fell heavily to the ground. She hurriedly breathed in the fresh air greedily. For the first time, she felt that being able to breathe air was such a happy thing. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned and looked coldly at Chu Yunyao, who was lying on the ground. Her eyes then turned to her side. Just now, when she was about to take Chu Yunyao's life, an attack suddenly attacked her, causing her to let go of her hand. Following this unforeseen event, everyone's eyes turned to the person who had come. This is going to be lively. He Yunjun is here too. Chapter 3864. It's a pity that Chu Yunyao was only one step away from death, but He Yunjun came here at this time. Everyone couldn't help shaking their heads and sighing, and some people who hated Chu Yunyao couldn't help but sigh. With their strength, it was extremely difficult to kill Chu Yunyao. Originally, they just wanted to take advantage of Bailey Hongzhuang's hand to vent their anger for themselves. Unexpectedly, at this critical moment, Chu Yunyao saved their lives, which was really infuriating. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes fell on the man. She saw that the man was elegant and his skin was very white. He looked like a white-faced scholar, but his strength was very strong, which was completely inconsistent with his weak appearance. He Yunjun. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. He Yunjuan's figure quickly appeared beside Chu Yunshang and quickly helped her up. Yunshang, how are you? He Yunjuan's voice was gentle, and her face was full of concern. Seeing He Yunjun coming, Chu Yunshang couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, and her heart was also at ease. Yunjun, I'm fine. Chu Yunshang took He Yunjuan's hand. It's just Yun Yao. But it's good that you're here. Hearing this, He Yunjun nodded and patted Chu Yunshang's hand comfortingly. Don't worry, leave it to me. Chu Yunshang immediately helped Chu Yunyao up from the ground and asked with concern, Yun Yao, are you okay? Don't worry, I won't die. After standing up, Chu Yunyao looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, her eyes cold and resentful. She almost died in the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang. He Yunjun, quickly kill her. Chu Yunyao hurriedly said. With her current strength, it was obviously impossible to kill Bailey Hongzhuang by herself, but relying on He Yunjuan's strength, she could still avenge her. Looking at Chu Yunyao's appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but sigh in her heart. This guy was really a bully. Bailey Hongzhuang, isn't it a bit too much for you to rush over and take Chu Yunyao's life today? Too much. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and said with a chuckle, when Chu Yunyao took Ying away, why didn't you say that it was too much? Instead, you helped her? If we had died in Chu Yunyao's hands back then, would you have thought that Chu Yunyao had gone overboard? Now you're saying that I'm going overboard? Your double standards are too laughable. As Bailey Hongzhuang finished speaking, the cultivators present could not help but laugh. Indeed, it was Chu Yunyao who started this matter from the beginning to the end. Now He Yunjun said that it was too much for Bailey Hongzhuang to come back to find trouble, which was a bit ridiculous. Only the officials were allowed to set fires, but the common people were not allowed to light lamps. This was not a reason that everyone could accept. No matter what, you've done this far today. It's better to take a step back and let it go. He Yunjun said slowly with a thin and cold face. In fact, he didn't want to get involved in this matter at all, but he had to come forward because of Chu Yunshang. He also didn't have any good feelings for Chu Yunyao, because she really liked to cause trouble. Every time she caused trouble that couldn't be solved, He Yunjun had to come up to deal with it. Chapter 3865. He never liked to offend talented cultivators, because no one knew what level these cultivators would grow to in the future. It was not a wise move to offend a future peerless expert. What's more, Bailey Hongzhuang was not only a cultivator, but also a doctor with outstanding medical skills. This kind of person's appeal has always been very strong. If not for this, Bailey Hongzhuang would have only issued a bounty order, and the Chu Yunshang sisters would be trapped in the house. It can be seen how strong her appeal was. Now he had used the healing medicine made by Bailey Hongzhuang, and the effect was really amazing. Offending such a person would only cause trouble for himself in the future. Since Bailey Hongzhuang could issue a bounty order to trap Chu Yunshang and her sister in the house, she could also issue a bounty order to tie him down. In his principles, this was never what he wanted to do. Unfortunately, Chu Yunyao was Chu Yunshang's biological sister. He couldn't ignore it for Chu Yunshang's sake, which made him very annoyed. That's it? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. You say that's it? It's so simple. You don't even ask the person involved whether they agree or not. Yingying, do you think we can agree to this matter? Shengguan Yingying chuckled. Of course not. Did you hear that? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at He Yunjun and others. My Yingying said she doesn't agree. He Yunjuan's eyes were gloomy, and she said coldly, so, you must carry out this matter to the end? It's good that you know. Seeing this, Chu Yunshang's face couldn't help but become a little ugly. She didn't expect that after He Yunjun appeared, Bailey Hongzhuang and others would still be so unforgiving. Yunjun, what should we do? He Yunjun patted Chu Yunshang's hand and said, don't worry, I've already made preparations. Bailey Hongzhuang, do you really want to carry out this matter to the end? If this matter ends here, then I, He Yunjun, will owe you a favor. Otherwise, it won't do you any good if we fight. He Yunjun slowly said, his voice filled with threat. He did not want to become enemies with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, but if Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were determined to see this matter to the end, then he had no other choice. Cut the crap. If you must stand up for them, then just do it. Bailey Hongzhuang's tone was even more resolute. There was no hatred between her and He Yunjun, but since He Yunjun was Chu Yunshang's lover, then they stood on the opposite side. There was absolutely no possibility of reconciliation. At the same time, Di Beichen also stood in front of Bailey Hongzhuang and looked at He Yunjun. He did not say a word, but he had already used his actions to tell He Yunjun that as long as He Yunjun dared to make a move, she would have to go through him first. Noticing Di Beichen's actions, He Yunjun could not help but frown. Yunjun, this Di Beichen has also reached the strength of the Starlight Realm. Chu Yunshang reminded He Yunjuan's ear. Hearing this, He Yunjun frowned. As early as before Bailey Hongzhuang and the others came back, he and Chu Yunshang discussed how to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Unexpectedly, in just a few months, the progress of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had completely exceeded their expectations. Chapter 3866. After noticing the change in He Yunjuan's expression, Chu Yunshang's heart couldn't help but thump. Even if He Yunjun had come, with his strength alone, he was not the opponent of Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang. I know that both of you have reached the Starlight Realm, but I also have helpers. As soon as the voice fell, He Yunjuan's eyes looked not far away. Then, a figure slowly walked over under everyone's gaze. The man was wearing a black robe. Looking at his face, he should be 40 years old. His face was quite rough, and there was a sense of majesty when he walked. Seeing the appearance of this cultivator, the faces of everyone present couldn't help but change a little. Niu Zhuang, it's Niu Zhuang. I didn't expect that He Yunjun had been prepared for a long time. Even Niu Zhuang was invited. This time, Bailey Hongzhuang's people are in a bad situation. Chu Yunyao had been silent. Bailey Hongzhuang's previous attack had made her lose her temper. At this moment, she only hoped that she could live well, so after He Yunjun came, she had not spoken. But at this moment, after seeing Niu Zhuang come, a smug smile appeared on her face. Bailey Hongzhuang, your good days are over. Chu Yunyao sneered. Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Beichen, and others also glanced at the newcomer. The name Niu Zhuang was really in line with the characteristics of this man. However, from the expressions of everyone present, this Niu Zhuang's strength was probably extremely powerful. Otherwise, everyone would not show such an expression. Shengguan Yinging couldn't help but frown and ask, Senior Brother Ren, who is this Niu Zhuang? Why did everyone's expression change after seeing him? Niu Zhuang is a very famous cultivator in Penglai Inner Palace. His cultivation is very strong. Now he has reached the strength of the Second Order Starlight Realm. Ren Ziheng said slowly, and a touch of worry appeared between his eyebrows. This is bad. The strength of the Second Order Starlight Realm is much stronger than the First Order Starlight Realm. Once Niu Zhuang and He Yunjun join forces, then junior sister Bailey and the others won't be able to gain any benefits. There is another reason why this Niu Zhuang is so famous. He is extremely ruthless in his attacks. Most cultivators would not be willing to make an enemy out of him. We did not think that He Yunjun would be able to invite him over. I believe he must have paid a considerable price, Ren Zimei said with a frown. Star Ray Level 2? At this time, Mo Yunjue, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke. Hearing Mo Yunjue's words, Ren Ziheng nodded. That's right. He has already reached such a level. We have to remind junior sister Bailey to be more careful. A wise man doesn't fight when the odds are against him. Even if we can't take Chu Yunyao's life this time, we can come again next time. After all, He Yunjun had to pay a hefty price to invite Niu Zhuang. I don't believe that he can invite Niu Zhuang every time. It's just the Second Order Starlight Realm. You don't have to be so worried. Hong Zhuang and Beichen can handle it. Mo Yunjue said slowly. Following Mo Yunjue's words, Ren Ziheng and the others couldn't help but be stunned. Their eyes flashed with doubt. They didn't understand what Mo Yunjue meant. Could it be that after Bailey Hongzhuang and Chu Yunjue joined forces, they could actually defeat the Second Order Starlight Realm Niu Zhuang? Chapter 3867. Chu Yunshang, who was originally extremely nervous, after seeing Niu Zhuang, a smile suddenly appeared on her face. Yunjun, I didn't expect you to even invite Niu Zhuang. Chu Yunshang said happily. If it was only he Yunjun alone, it would be difficult for them to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, but Niu Zhuang was a second-order astral radiance cultivator. With his strength, dealing with a first-order astral radiance cultivator was not a problem. He Yunjun glanced at Chu Yunshang with a smile. I heard that something happened here, and Niu Zhuang happened to be by my side. To be on the safe side, I invited him. Now it seems that my previous judgment was not wrong. Chu Yunshang nodded, looking at He Yunjun with eyes full of affection and worship. You are really prescient. If you didn't invite senior brother Niu, we would be in a dangerous situation today. Speaking of this, Chu Yunshang couldn't help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others not far away. In just a few months, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' improvement really made her afraid. If they couldn't deal with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others this time, then they would really be in trouble in the future. He Yunjun obviously understood Chu Yunshang's thoughts and immediately said, Don't worry, after today, this trouble will not exist. Hearing this, Chu Yunshang looked up at He Yunjun, the smile in her eyes deepened. Yunjun, thank you. You are my woman, I naturally won't let anything happen to you. You don't need to thank me. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at He Yunjun and Chu Yunshang whispering. Although she didn't know what they were talking about, she could roughly judge some content from their expressions. Master, they seem to think that after inviting Niu Zhuang, a second-order astral radiance cultivator, they are already winning. Xiao Hei's eyes revealed a trace of ridicule, chuckling lightly. They are frogs at the bottom of the well, naturally thinking that Niu Zhuang, a second-order astral radiance cultivator, is enough. Unfortunately, they don't know that Bewitching is also a second-order astral radiance cultivator. Xiao Bai's face showed a smug smile. Now is not a hurry to say it. Let's see how arrogant they are later. Presumably, when they know the truth, their expressions will be even more wonderful. Xiao Bai, you are getting worse and worse. Xiao Hei sighed aloud, and then a sly smile sighs. However, my thoughts are the same as yours. After hearing the gloomy words, gloat, and qians, they couldn't help shakings. They were also looking forward to seeing what kind of expression He Yunjun and the others would have when their fantasies were shattered. After a while, Ants was and Hyun, you must help me teach them a lesson. Chu Yunyao said aloud. With that, Chu Yunyao's eyes turned to Bailey Hongzhuang again, and said, Bailey Hongzhuang, the humiliation you have inflicted on me, I will pay you back double in a while. A sinister smile appeared on Chu Yunyao's face. Her face, which was already swollen like a pig's head, could not be distinguished at the moment. She only felt that it was all wrinkled together, and it was extremely ugly. He Yunjun looked at Chu Yunyao faintly, and a touch of disgust appeared in his eyes. It was just a short moment and he covered it up again. Chapter 3868. Although He Yunjuan's expression was hidden very quickly, Bailey Hongzhuang and others did not miss it. They were also amused in their hearts. Presumably, the existence of Chu Yunyao made He Yunjun feel very disgusted. Otherwise, she would not show such an expression. This Chu Yunyao is really powerful. My future brother-in-law has already hated her to this extent. I think if it weren't for Chu Yunshang, He Yunjun would have pretended not to be here today. When Xiren's lips evoked a sarcastic smile, whispering in Bailey Hongzhuang's ears. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching looked at each other, and there was a smile in their eyes. With Chu Yunyao's character, there should be very few people who can like her. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. Although liking a person often starts from the appearance, after getting along for a long time, one would know what kind of person Chu Yunyao was. Otherwise, she and Chu Yunshang had the same appearance, but Chu Yunshang had already found a sweetheart, but she never had. Maybe it's because her character is too annoying, so no one likes her at all. At that time, Duan Huali could have feelings for her, which made her feel so surprised that she can't forget it now. Shangguan Yingying shrugged. Listening to Shangguan Yingying's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and others couldn't help but give a thumbs up. It's really a good idea. You hit the nail on the head and directly exposed the truth. He Yunjun lightly responded to Chu Yunyao's words. Suddenly, the pride on Chu Yunyao's face was even more obvious. Bailey Hongzhuang, you're going to die. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Chu Yunyao indifferently, her chin was slightly raised, and the corners of her lips evoked a playful arc. Chu Yunyao, you really don't know yourself. Can't you see that your future brother-in-law has already disliked you to the extreme? It's not easy for your sister to have a sister like you, and it's even more difficult for your brother-in-law. Shengguan Yingying made fun of her. As soon as these words came out, the cultivators present all covered their mouths and chuckled. This was also what they were thinking. He Yunjuan's expression suddenly became a little unnatural. He felt that his performance just now was not very obvious, but now that Bailey Hongzhuang had exposed his thoughts in public, he was a little embarrassed for a moment. Chu Yunyao was slightly stunned, then chuckled and said, Bailey Hongzhuang, don't talk nonsense. He Yunjun doesn't think so at all. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. You're really confident. However, even if you think this way, he might not think the same way. Perhaps he feels that it is better for me to take your life earlier. After all, having a burden like you is really disgusting. He wants to be with my sister, so he naturally has to take care of me. This is what he should do. Don't sow discord there. Chu Yunyao said coldly, no matter what you say now, you will die in my hands later. He Yunjun, you have to think about it. If you want to be with Chu Yunshang, you must take Chu Yunyao as a burden with you. Shengguan Yingying suddenly said, looking at He Yunjun playfully, how about this? You take Chu Yunshang away directly, and we will pretend that nothing happened between us. As for Chu Yunyao, this burden, we will help you solve it directly, and save you trouble in the future. Chapter 3869. Chu Yunshang looked up and saw He Yunjuan's hesitant expression, and her face suddenly became ugly. In fact, she always knew that He Yunjun didn't have a good impression of Chu Yunyao. If it weren't for her sake, He Yunjun wouldn't even bother to take care of Chu Yunyao. The things that Chu Yunyao had made several times before had already made He Yunjun feel very troublesome. This time, He Yunjun even invited Niu Zhuang. Although she was very happy before at this moment, she came back to her senses and knew that He Yunjun had paid a certain price to invite Niu Zhuang. In the end, she didn't manage her sister well. If she could manage Chu Yunyao and let her restrain her temper, then things would not have become like this. Yunjun. Chu Yunshang couldn't help calling out. Listening to Chu Yunshang's words, He Yunjun recovered from his thoughts. If possible, he really hoped that everything would be as Shengguan Yingying said, but unfortunately, Chu Yunshang was here now, and under the watchful eyes of the public, even if he wanted to, there was nothing he could do. Lowering his head slightly, He Yunjun noticed the worry in Chu Yunshang's eyes. Yunshang, don't worry, I won't let anything happen to Chu Yunyao. He Yunjun, I think what this little junior sister said is very reasonable. This Chu Yunyao will only cause trouble all day long. You might as well let her fend for herself. In this way, you can save a lot of trouble. Niu Zhuang suddenly said. With the sound of Niu Zhuang's voice falling, the faces of the people present became wonderful. I didn't expect this Niu Zhuang to be a temperamental person. He directly saw through the truth. Chu Jinfeng sneered. Ren Zimei nodded in agreement. Niu Zhuang has such a character. He is not afraid of offending people at all. Fortunately, he is strong enough. Otherwise, with his mouth, I am afraid that he will make many enemies in Penglai Palace. Niu Zhuang, what do you mean by this? Chu Yunyao's face suddenly became a little embarrassed. She didn't expect that the person He Yunjun invited to help would ridicule her, making the people around her laugh at her. It was really hateful. What do I mean? Niu Zhuang laughed. Isn't my meaning obvious enough? You should be aware of how much trouble you've caused during this period of time. If He Yunjun has the time to help you deal with these troublesome matters, it would be better for her to cultivate by herself. Perhaps she has already reached my level of cultivation, then there is no need to ask for my help. Niu Zhuang, you've gone too far. Chu Yunyao said angrily, no matter what I do, it's our own family business. There's no need for an outsider like you to interfere. Seeing Chu Yunyao's attitude, Niu Zhuang couldn't help but frown. His voice couldn't help but become cold. If you really don't need me to intervene, then I'll leave. Chu Yunshang's face suddenly changed, and she angrily rebuked, Yunyao, What nonsense are you talking about? Quickly apologized to senior brother Nyo. Chu Yunyao's face was full of resentment, but she also knew that she shouldn't have said that just now. Apologize quickly, Hyunjun said with a gloomy face. Senior brother Nyo, I'm sorry. Chu Yunyao said slowly. She lowered her head, and her eyes flickered with deep resentment. She didn't know what kind of bad luck she had today, but everyone actually came to mock and ridicule her. She was simply about to die from anger. Chapter 3870. Listening to Chu Yunyao's apology, Nyo Zhuang snorted coldly and said, This time, I will let it go for Hyunjuan's sake. Next time, if you dare to say such words to me again, I will not be polite to you. You should know that Hyunjun is your brother-in-law. It's one thing for him to be bullied by you, but I have nothing to do with you. If you dare to talk nonsense to me, then you're courting death. Nyo Zhuang's face did not hide his disgust at all. He did not have any good feelings for Chu Yunyao. If it were not for his good relationship with Hyunjun and the conditions offered by Hyunjun that satisfied him, he would not have come today. Listening to Nyo Zhuang's fierce words, Chu Yunyao's face suddenly became ugly. She really didn't understand. Nyo Zhuang was obviously the helper invited by Hyunjun. Now he even targeted her. He looked like Bailey Hongzhuang's people. It was really hateful. Senior brother Nyo, Yunyao has always been like this. Don't be angry with her. Chu Yunshang said softly, her eyes full of fear. It was already very troublesome for them to offend Bailey Hongzhuang. If they offended Nyo Zhuang, they would definitely die today. Nyo Zhuang looked at Chu Yunshang faintly, and his expression eased a little. You two sisters look exactly the same, but your personalities are completely different. You are much better than your sister. Chu Yunshang smiled awkwardly. She was helpless in her heart, but she could not say anything. However, Chu Yunyao only felt that Nyo Zhuang's words were like a slap on her face, which made her feel extremely bad. She asked herself that she did not offend Nyo Zhuang, but Nyo Zhuang came to find trouble with her. If she could become stronger in the future, she must get back the humiliation today. Senior brother Nyo, today I have to ask you to help me solve these problems. Hyunjun looked serious. Hearing this, Nyo Zhuang waved his hand. Since I promised you, I will help you solve them. Thank you, senior brother Nyo. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others glanced at Nyo Zhuang indifferently. They were not nervous at all. They were just waiting for Nyo Zhuang to make his move. Then they would let him taste the taste of regret. Bailey Hongzhuang, I'll give you one more chance. Do you really want to go all the way today? Hyunjun said coldly. Bailey Hongzhuang sneered, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. I must kill Chu Yunyao today. If you must help her, then we can only meet on the battlefield. Seeing this, a complicated look flashed in Hyunjuan's eyes. If that's the case, then we can only fight it out. In the next moment, Hyunjun drew her weapon and attacked Bailey Hongzhuang without hesitation. When Hyunjun took action, Chu Yunyao also shouted, Hyunjun, you must kill her. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were cold. The lapis lazuli sword instantly appeared in her hand and met Hyunjuan's attack. Since junior brother he has already taken action, then I can't delay. Nyo Zhuang laughed and immediately locked his eyes on Di Beichen. Facing Nyo Zhuang's gaze, Di Beichen's expression was indifferent and indifferent. The flowing light sword also appeared in his hand. His attitude had already made everything clear. Junior brother Di, I have been entrusted to do my duty. Sorry to offend you. As soon as his voice fell, Nyo Zhuang directly stabbed at Di Beichen with his sword. Chapter 3871. Bailey Hongzhuang and Hyunjun instantly clashed, and the aura of the Star Radiance realm was completely exposed. Every time the two of them clashed, the force that shot out was extremely frightening. After the two of them started to exchange blows, the crowd all retreated a certain distance. The ripples of a Star Radiance realm cultivator's battle were not ordinarily strong. If they were too close, once they were affected, it would really be accidental injury. I didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest to be so unyielding. Senior brother Nyo is a Star Radiance realm level 2 cultivator, and they actually dare to exchange blows with him. This courage is really impressive. So what if they have the courage? If their abilities are not enough, won't they still die in the hands of senior brother Nyo? From what I see, that might not be the case. Don't forget, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest are the inheritors of the Devil Training Tower. Their battle abilities are definitely very strong, and they might even be able to fight above their level. Everyone's eyes flickered with a curious light. They were extremely curious about the outcome of this battle. After all, both parties' abilities were very strong. A battle between Star Radiance Realm cultivators was not something that could be easily seen on a normal day. Today, it could be considered as a feast for their eyes, and they understood just how powerful the battle abilities of Star Radiance Realm cultivators were. After He Yunjun exchanged blows with Bailey Hongzhuang, he felt how powerful Bailey Hongzhuang was. Previously, he only heard that Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest's battle abilities were not weak, but he did not have any actual experience. He even thought that there were some elements of it. But now that he had personally exchanged blows with them, he finally understood that Bailey Hongzhuang's ability was really very strong. Logically speaking, Bailey Hongzhuang had just broken through to the Star Radiance realm, and he had already been in the Star Radiance realm for a period of time. But now that they were exchanging blows, his strength was actually not comparable to Bailey Hongzhuang. This was simply too unbelievable. Ding ding ding. Bailey Hongzhuang's speed was as fast as lightning. One after another, her attacks were like a torrential rain that mercilessly attacked He Yunjun. Under Bailey Hongzhuang's attacks, He Yunjuan's response was somewhat inferior. With a slight carelessness, a bloody wound appeared on his body. Bailey Hongzhuang was originally curious about He Yunjuan's strength, but after exchanging blows, she knew that He Yunjun was no match for her. When Bailey Hongzhuang stopped, everyone found that He Yunjun's body had dozens of large and small scars. His clothes were already dyed red with blood, but these wounds were not deep and did not harm his vital organs. The cultivators present were not stupid people. From this point, they knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was much stronger than He Yunjuan's. If Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to take his life, she could have killed him directly just now. Her current appearance was just to tease He Yunjun. I didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang's strength to be so powerful. She is completely beating He Yunjuan's rhythm. The cultivators present were all stunned. Originally, they were still thinking about who was stronger. Although Bailey Hongzhuang had obtained the inheritance of the Demon Refining Pagoda, He Yunjuan's reputation had been around for a long time. But they did not expect that He Yunjun would not be able to resist at all. Yunjun. After seeing He Yunjun like this, Chu Yunshang couldn't help but call out. Her voice was full of worry. He Yunjun raised his hand, indicating Chu Yunshang not to worry, but his eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. Chapter 3872. With your strength, it's impossible for you to defeat me. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was indifferent, and her voice was gentle and fearless. She did not have any thoughts about He Yunjun. If it were not for Chu Yunshang, there would be no interaction between them at all. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's contemptuous words, He Yunjuan's face was a little ugly. He had always boasted that his strength was very outstanding, but he did not expect that he would be defeated by such a young woman today. Moreover, when the two sides fought, he had almost no strength to fight back. Compared to the scars on his body, Bailey Hongzhuang did not suffer the slightest bit of injury, which really gave him a big blow. When Chu Yunyao saw that Bailey Hongzhuang defeated He Yunjun so easily, she could not help but widen her eyes, and her face was full of shock. How could it be? These words kept appearing in Chu Yunyao's mind. He Yunjun had always been an extremely powerful person in her mind, but now he was defeated by Bailey Hongzhuang, which also gave her a big blow. Facing Bailey Hongzhuang, He Yunjun did not know what to say for a moment. He could not help but look at Niu Zhuang, who was not far away. He could only pin his hopes on Niu Zhuang. After all, Niu Zhuang's cultivation was higher than his. Bailey Hongzhuang would not be his opponent. As Niu Zhuang's attack attacked Di Beichen, he found that Di Beichen was young, but there was no panic on his face. This was not an ordinary calmness. However, when Niu Zhuang's attack collided with Di Beichen's attack, he felt the power from the sword. Niu Zhuang's eyes narrowed, and there was a flash of surprise in his eyes. That was because he found that Bewitching's strength was not weaker than his. This was impossible. Niu Zhuang immediately had this thought in his mind. Even if Bewitching had broken through to the Starlight Realm, he was a level 2 Starlight Realm cultivator. Bewitching and the others were no match for him. What's more, he had been stuck at the second level of the Astral Magnate Realm for a very long time. Among all the cultivators he came into contact with, as long as they were below the second level of the Astral Magnate Realm, none of them were his match. However, Bewitching's strength was actually able to contend against him. It was truly unbelievable. However, Bewitching didn't give Niu Zhuang any time to think. He attacked Niu Zhuang without hesitation. When everyone saw that not only was Bewitching not defeated, but he even dared to take the initiative to attack Niu Zhuang, they could not help but be dumbfounded. It can't be. Bewitching is actually not defeated by Niu Zhuang? This is too shocking. Could it be that the inheritor of the Demon Refining Tower is actually so abnormal? A level 1 Starlight Realm cultivator can actually deal with a level 2 Starlight Realm cultivator. This is really terrifying. No wonder Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did not show the slightest fear when they saw Niu Zhuang coming. It turns out that they were simply confident in dealing with him. Everyone suddenly understood. They looked at Bewitching with eyes full of admiration and jealousy. Previously, Bewitching rarely showed off, so they did not pay much attention to him. At this moment, they realized that Bewitching's strength was actually so strong. Chapter 3873. The reason why they had always been wary of Niu Zhuang was not only because he was a rank 2 astral magnate, but also because his attacks were extremely ruthless. It was said that no one below rank 2 could match him. Niu Zhuang was already 40 years old, much older than them. His strength had already stagnated at rank 2 astral magnate for quite a few years. Everyone knew that his potential seemed to have been exhausted. In these few years, he had not improved at all. Many people even thought that he would be stuck at rank 2 astral magnate for the rest of his life. Niu Zhuang obviously knew of this possibility, but he was not discouraged. Instead, he continuously worked hard to raise his battle strength. It was because of this that his battle strength had increased to a terrifying level. As long as it was a cultivator below rank 2 astral magnate, there was no one who could match him. However, Bewitching had only just reached the astral magnate realm. To be able to fight with Niu Zhuang without losing, this was not an ordinary level of strength. Hearing Ren Zimei's words, Ren Ziheng shook his head and said, "Your judgment is wrong. Bewitching is not rank 1 astral magnate, but rank 2 astral magnate." When these words came out, Chu Jinfeng and Ren Zimei could not help but be stunned. They looked at Ren Ziheng in astonishment and raised their voice. "What did you say? Bewitching has already broken through to rank 2 astral magnate?" "That's right." Ren Ziheng nodded seriously. "From the aura he is emitting, he has definitely reached rank 2 astral magnate." "It can't be?" Chu Jinfeng was a little suspicious. How long has it been since Junior Brother D and the rest left? To be able to break through to the astral magnate realm is already very abnormal. He even broke through to rank 2 astral magnate. This is too unbelievable. Geniuses are always different from the rest. Ren Ziheng sighed, but his gaze could not help but fall on Mo Yunjue. At this moment, he could not help but recall what Mo Yunjue had said before. Looks like they really did not care about the rank 2 astral magnate Niu Zhuang. "Junior Brother Wen, is Ren Ziheng's judgment correct?" Chu Jinfeng asked. When Ziren smiled faintly and nodded, "That's right." "My God, do you still want us to live?" Chu Jinfeng smiled bitterly. Back then, their cultivation was stronger than Bewitching and the rest. Who would have thought that in the blink of an eye, it would be impossible to catch up to Bewitching and the rest? Bewitching and Niu Zhuang fought together. In the process of this fight, he also found that Niu Zhuang's fighting strength was indeed very strong. Compared to the ordinary second-order stellar magnate cultivators, Niu Zhuang's fighting strength could almost compete with third-order stellar magnate cultivators. However, he was also not simple. It would not be easy for Niu Zhuang to defeat him. "I really didn't expect that at such a young age, you would actually break through to the second level of the astral magnate realm." After a few exchanges, Niu Zhuang also realized that Bewitching was not a cultivator who had just broken through to the star realm, but had already reached the second stage of the star realm. Not only that, but Bewitching's battle prowess was even stronger than that of a rank 2 stellar magi cultivator. To have such a cultivation at such an age, his potential was limitless. Same to you, Bewitching said faintly. However, Niu Zhuang's words stirred up a storm in everyone's hearts. Chapter 3874. At such a young age, he has already broken through to the second level of star radiance. The inheritor of the Demon Tower is indeed worthy of his reputation. Niu Zhuang's gaze towards Bewitching changed a little. In fact, the reason why he chose to fight today was partly because he was curious about how strong the inheritor of the Demon Tower was. After this fight, he also understood the gap between them. He had just broken through to this level and could have such a fighting strength. It was really amazing. He Yunjun had always hoped that Niu Zhuang could defeat Bewitching and then come to help him. However, at this moment, after hearing Niu Zhuang say that Bewitching was also at the second level of star radiance, he couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Second level of star radiance? Bewitching is also a cultivator at the second level of star radiance? Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up slightly and said, "Only your friends are allowed to break through to the second level of star radiance, and we are not allowed to break through to the second level of star radiance? How did you break through so quickly?" He Yunjun found it hard to believe. "We naturally have our own methods. There is no need to tell you." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled coldly and then locked his eyes on Chu Yunyao. "Chu Yunyao, you will definitely die today. Take advantage of the current situation to take a good look at the scene in front of you. In the future, you can only stay in hell." Chu Yunshang and Chu Yunyao were also dumbfounded at this moment. Their minds were unable to turn around for a moment. They had clearly turned the situation around before. How did it return to the initial situation now? "Yunjun, what should we do?" Chu Yunshang couldn't help but look at He Yunjun, a thick panic on his face. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were really too strong. If they said that they didn't have any helpers, sooner or later they would lose to Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. He Yunjun was also confused at this moment. His deep eyes were filled with a complicated light. He had always thought that after inviting Niu Zhuang, they had already won. He didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were so abnormal, completely destroying his plan. "He Yunjun, you go and find some more helpers." Chu Yunyao said, "With your ability, you can definitely find some stronger helpers. As long as they come, you can kill Bailey Hongzhuang." Seeing that Chu Yunyao still wanted to kill Bailey Hongzhuang at this time and didn't know the seriousness of the situation, the disgust in He Yunjuan's eyes became stronger. "Chu Yunyao, don't dream. There are only a few cultivators above the Starlight Realm in the Penglai Inner Palace. Where am I going to find so many people to help me? The current situation is entirely because of you, yet you don't even have the slightest bit of shame." Listening to He Yunjuan's accusation, Chu Yunyao couldn't help but be stunned, and then her face was filled with anger. She had already been humiliated again and again today, and now even He Yunjun had come to humiliate her. "It's unreasonable," He Yunjun said angrily. "If I didn't have feelings for your sister, I wouldn't care about your life and death at all." Bailey Hongzhuang saw the conflict between He Yunjun and Chu Yunyao. She was not in a hurry to take action. She just watched them bite each other. It was very interesting. Chapter 3875. With Bailey Hongzhuang's voice falling, He Yunjun and Chu Yunshang were both stunned. They didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang would make such a condition. He Yunjuan's eyes flashed with a touch of hesitation, and he couldn't help but turn to Niu Zhuang, who was fighting with Bewitching not far away. If Niu Zhuang could defeat Bewitching, then they might still have a chance, but if Niu Zhuang couldn't win, then everything would be decided by Bailey Hongzhuang and others. Judging from the posture of Bailey Hongzhuang and others, it was obvious that they wouldn't stop until they killed Chu Yunyao. If he didn't agree, not only would Chu Yunyao die, but they would also have to accompany Chu Yunyao to die here. This was obviously what he didn't want to see. Dying for Chu Yunyao was definitely something he couldn't accept. However, at present, they still had a glimmer of hope. If Niu Zhuang could defeat Di Beichen, then they could still turn defeat into victory and not fall into such a situation. After seeing He Yunjuan's hesitation, Chu Yunshang's face suddenly became ugly. Yunjun, we? He Yunjun turned his head and glanced at Chu Yunshang. Yunshang, if it really comes to that point. Although he didn't finish his words, He Yunjuan's attitude had already made everyone understand. If it really came to that point, then he would definitely give up Chu Yunyao. It was a stupid move to give up his life for such a woman. Listening to He Yunjuan's words, Chu Yunshang couldn't help but take 2 steps back, and her pretty face turned pale. Even though Chu Yunyao had always been very excessive, she was still her sister. She had never thought that there would be such a day. After Chu Yunyao heard He Yunjun say such words, her face suddenly filled with disbelief. He Yunjun, you really dare to do this to me? He Yunjun glanced at Chu Yunyao and didn't say anything. He couldn't help but turn to Niu Zhuang. If Niu Zhuang could win, he didn't want to do this. After all, he knew Chu Yunyao's position in Chu Yunshang's heart. After exchanging blows with Di Beichen, Niu Zhuang was shocked to discover that Di Beichen's strength was extremely powerful. Compared to him who was stuck at the 2nd level of astral radiance, Di Beichen was not the slightest bit weaker. On the contrary, Di Beichen was even stronger. You are no match for me. Di Beichen's eyes were calm and indifferent after the first strike. Niu Zhuang was slightly taken aback. He looked at Di Beichen in surprise. Although I can't defeat you now, you are too confident. I haven't used my full strength yet. You should be aware of that, Di Beichen said slowly. Hearing this, Niu Zhuang took a deep look at Di Beichen. After thinking for a moment, a smile appeared on his face. Sure enough, heroes come from the young. I really am no match for you. He was not a stupid person and immediately understood the meaning of Di Beichen's words. Thinking about it, Di Beichen had already seen that he had used his full strength just now. On the contrary, Di Beichen had only used a part of his strength. Therefore, even if it was just a fight, he already knew the final result. After seeing Niu Zhuang admit that he was not as good as Di Beichen, everyone present showed a look of astonishment. My God, did I hear it wrong? Niu Zhuang actually admitted that he is not a match for Di Beichen in public? You didn't hear it wrong because I heard it too. Chapter 3876. One after another, astonished gazes fell on Di Beichen. Everyone was in disbelief. Di Beichen's breakthrough to the Starlight Realm was already very surprising. Now, even Niu Zhuang was no match for him. This meant that no one below the 2nd level of the Starlight Realm could be a match for Di Beichen. This was really not an ordinary level of strength. Everyone was thinking about it. In the future, they definitely could not offend Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. With their strength, if they offended them, they would really be asking for trouble. Junior brother Di, I really admire you. Niu Zhuang looked at Di Beichen with eyes full of admiration. All along, there were very few cultivators who could make him admire Di Beichen, but this Di Beichen was one of them. To be able to have such strength at such a young age was really admirable. Moreover, during the fight, Di Beichen clearly had the opportunity to injure him, but did not directly injure him. He had already accepted this kindness. Just this magnanimity alone was not easy. If it was an ordinary cultivator, they would definitely not be merciful in this situation. However, Di Beichen's actions were undoubtedly to preserve his face. If he still did not understand, then he would be too stupid. Today, let's not fight, no concord. How about we be friends from now on? Niu Zhuang's face revealed a smile as he said. He and He Yunjun were only acquaintances and did not have a deep friendship. However, he really thought highly of Di Beichen and the others. Moreover, Bailey Hongzhuang was such a famous doctor. In fact, he did not want to deal with them at first. However, He Yunjun deliberately asked for his help, and the conditions she offered were very good. Therefore he came to take a look. After Niu Zhuang said these words, everyone's eyes gathered on him. Wasn't this development a little too dramatic? Niu Zhuang was the helper invited by He Yunjun. Now, he actually appreciated Di Beichen and wanted to be friends with Di Beichen. In this way, didn't it mean that Niu Zhuang was bought over by them? Seeing Niu Zhuang say such words, Baichen's eyes quietly flashed with a hint of surprise. Then he chuckled and nodded, "That's great." He thought that with Niu Zhuang's status in the Penglai Inner Palace, he would definitely not admit defeat easily. However, he did not expect that he would directly admit that he was not his opponent. Moreover, he did not show any displeasure. He even proposed to be friends with him. Recalling what Niu Zhuang and Chu Yunyao had said before, he knew that Niu Zhuang was a person who spoke his mind and did not beat around the bush. Therefore, when he said that he wanted to be friends with him, it must be from the bottom of his heart, and he did not have any other thoughts. In this inner palace, he did not want to offend too many opponents. If he could make some friends, it would be great. After all, they would have to train in the future. More friends would be more help. If they had more enemies, it would be very troublesome to deal with them in the future. What's more, cultivators above the Starry Sky realm were very rare. Their status in the inner palace was very important. If they killed the Starry Sky realm cultivators, it would be a great loss to the Penglai Palace. Presumably, Master Long and the others did not want to see it. If it was an enemy, it would be fine. However, since this was a conflict that could be resolved, it was better to resolve it. It would be good for them. Listening to Baichen's words, Niu Zhuang also laughed heartily. Haha, that's great. Chapter 3877. The development of this matter is really beyond my expectations. I didn't expect Baichen to have such an ability to make Niu Zhuang appreciate him so much. There is no need to fight. Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but look at Wen Xiren beside her. Her pretty face was full of helplessness and emotion. It could be considered the most dramatic fight since they came to Penglai Palace. Xiren nodded, his eyes shining brightly. This Niu Zhuang seems to be reckless, but he is very smart. He should be very clear that he is not Baichen's opponent. In such a case, if he continues to fight head-on, it will not do him any good. However, his appreciation for Baichen should also be real. It can be said that no discord, no friendship. It is good for us to make a friend. Look, Chu Yunyao's face is as black as the bottom of a pot. Ren Zimei suddenly chuckled. Shangguan Yingying and others couldn't help but look at Chu Yunyao. They saw that Chu Yunyao's face was gloomy and no longer had the previous arrogance. Her eyes flashed with a strong fear. It seemed that it was hard to imagine what would happen next. After seeing that Niu Zhuang had become friends with Baichen, He Yunjun couldn't help but be stunned. This result was simply a dramatic reversal. After Bailey Hongzhuang noticed this scene, the smile on her lips widened a little. She retracted her gaze and looked at He Yunjun. Have you thought about it? He Yunjun thought for a moment, and a hint of hesitation flashed in his eyes. He looked at Chu Yunsheng and said, Yunsheng, let's agree. There was a hint of helplessness in his low voice. He never cared about Chu Yunyao. The only thing he cared about was Chu Yunsheng's thoughts. He Yunjun, you are too much. Chu Yunyao's face showed a strong sense of indignation. Her eyes were bloodshot and she looked at He Yunjun with hatred. How can you do this? Facing the angry Chu Yunyao, He Yunjun didn't care at all. Over the years, you have caused a lot of trouble. I have helped you clean up the mess every time. I have already done my best. You provoked an opponent that you shouldn't have provoked and suffered the consequences of your own actions. Don't tell me you want me to die with you? He Yunjuan's eyes were full of coldness. Originally, he was still a little worried about Chu Yunyao, but after Chu Yunyao said those words to him, he couldn't be bothered to pay attention to it. At this moment, she didn't want to care about Chu Yunyao's life or death. Chu Yunyao looked at He Yunjun angrily. After opening her mouth to say this word, she really didn't know what to say. She understood that no matter how good a friend was, they would reveal their selfish side in this kind of life and death situation. However, she still found it hard to accept how He Yunjun treated her. Sister, let's ignore him. He's not sincere to you at all. Chu Yunyao looked at Chu Yunsheng. Yunsheng, haven't you done enough for her all these years? She never knew how to be grateful. She only knew how to take things from you. What's the use of having such a sister? I'm the only one who knows about your hardships. Why don't you solve this problem now? Your life will be much easier in the future. He Yunjun looked at Chu Yunsheng. He really liked Chu Yunshang and did not want Chu Yunshang to be buried with Chu Yunyao. Chapter 3878. He Yunjun, that's enough. Chu Yunyao shouted, holding Chu Yunshang tightly with both hands. Sister, don't listen to his nonsense. Think of a way. I don't want to die. Chu Yunyao looked at Chu Yunshang nervously. She didn't expect things to turn out like this. Now she had no choice but to pin all her hopes on Chu Yunshang. Bailey Hongzhuang obviously wanted to take her life. She didn't want to die like this today. At this moment she finally knew fear. Chu Yunshang looked at Chu Yunyao beside her with a complicated expression. She never thought that one day she would have to make such a choice. He Yunjun had no other way, so he naturally didn't need to say more. If you don't agree, he can only die here with Chu Yunyao. If you agree, Chu Yunyao will also die. But it's also hard for him to bear watching his sister die in front of him. Yunshang, at this time, she still wants you to die with her. Haven't you seen through her yet? He Yunjun said helplessly. The cultivators present all spoke out together. Chu Yunshang really has some feelings for her sister, but Chu Yunyao obviously doesn't have such an idea. Chu Yunyao is obviously a dead end. At this time, she still wants to use Chu Yunshang as a cushion. This sister is really amazing. With Chu Yunyao's temperament, it's not surprising that she would do such a thing. Haven't we seen it before? Looking at this scene, Chu Yunyao had become a dead person in the hearts of everyone. If no other heavyweight appeared, Chu Yunyao's ending today would definitely not be changed. When Chu Yunyao saw the hesitation on Chu Yunshang's face, she couldn't help but take 2 steps back. Her face was pale and weak, and her words should be trembling. Sister, are you really going to watch me die like this? Chu Yunshang looked helpless. Yunyao, I won't watch you die like this. Then think of a way. Chu Yunyao quickly said. As matters stand, there's nothing I can do. Chu Yunshang spread out her hands. With her current strength, she was no match for Bailey Hongzhuang and others. She couldn't even beat Bailey Hongzhuang, let alone Bewitching. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Chu Yunshang and the others. It seems that you have made your decision. At this time, He Yunjun hurriedly said, We promise you to leave Chu Yunyao behind. As He Yunjuan's voice fell, Chu Yunyao couldn't help but say angrily, He Yunjun, it's fine if you're like this, but why are you bringing my sister along? Things have already come to this point. Since you are definitely going to die, why ask your sister to bring you along? Why don't you give your sister a way out? With that, He Yunjun directly held Chu Yunshang's hand. His face was firm, and his voice was steady and powerful. Yunshang, don't think about it. Things have come to this point. You can't change the outcome. It's better to leave your life and live well. Hearing this, Chu Yunshang was very helpless. She looked at herself and Bailey Hongzhuang and others. She didn't speak, but she also acquiesced. Chapter 3879. In the face of Chu Yunyao's questioning, Chu Yunshang couldn't bear it. She never thought that there would be such a day, let alone answer Chu Yunyao's words. Thinking of this, Chu Yunshang wanted to approach Chu Yunyao, but was held tightly by He Yunjun. She looked at He Yunjun, only to see the latter shaking her head at her. Seeing this, even if Chu Yunshang couldn't bear it in her heart, she could only helplessly lower her head. Chu Yunyao also noticed He Yunjuan's actions, and the hatred in her eyes grew stronger. She didn't expect that at this time, Chu Yunshang and others not only didn't help her, but also chose to stand by. This situation made her feel as if she had fallen into an ice cellar, and there was an unspeakable fear in her heart. She didn't want to die. After seeing He Yunjuan's choice, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile also rose a little. It seems that you have made a choice. He Yunjun bowed to Bailey Hongzhuang. Junior sister Bailey Hongzhuang, we won't care about Chu Yunyao's affairs anymore. You can spare us, and we are grateful for your magnanimity. Even though he knew that Bailey Hongzhuang did this just to better ridicule Chu Yunyao and let Chu Yunyao experience the feeling of being betrayed, no matter what, Bailey Hongzhuang still let them go. Otherwise, as long as Bailey Hongzhuang wanted them to die, they would have no way to get away. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at He Yunjun with a little surprise. She had always thought that He Yunjun was Chu Yunshang's lover, and she didn't know anything else. After seeing He Yunjun today, she didn't have a good impression of him. After all, they were all enemies. However, this person would thank her after losing face, which was beyond her expectation. It seemed that this person was also a person who could endure humiliation. However, anyone who possessed such a trait would have great achievements. It was no wonder that they were able to reach their current level. Senior apprentice brother He, you're being too courteous. No discord, no concord. There's no deep hatred between us. Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferent. Every injustice had its perpetrator and every debt its debtor. As long as He Yunjun did not interfere in their matters, she would not care. What's more, judging from the situation, He Yunjun might be very grateful to him for helping to solve Chu Yunyao's problem. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's answer, He Yunjun also breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang, she couldn't help but feel grateful and appreciative. He did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be so magnanimous. However, he was also worried that Bailey Hongzhuang would resent them for interfering in this matter. After all, Bailey Hongzhuang's group was too strong. If the other party held a grudge against them, then they would only have a dead end. It hadn't been long since he broke through to the first order, and there was still a long way to go to the second order. It was impossible to defeat Bewitching in a short period of time. However, now that Bailey Hongzhuang really intended to let them go, they didn't have to worry. Bailey Hongzhuang turned her head to look at Shangguan Yingying behind her. Yingying, this Chu Yunyao is yours to deal with. Hearing this, a smile appeared on Shangguan Yingying's face. She immediately took a step forward with a playful look on her face. I have full authority to deal with her. Chapter 3880. Xiren also looked at Shangguan Yingying dotingly. Shangguan Yingying had been treated like that by Chu Yunyao before. This time, they came to let Shangguan Yingying vent her anger. Now that he saw Chu Yunyao's betrayal, when Xiren felt that it was still not enough. This woman had asked for it. Shangguan Yingying walked to Chu Yunyao with a smile. Looking at the latter's face, which was as black as the bottom of a pot, she chuckled and said, Chu Yunyao, when you kidnapped me last time, you didn't expect that there would be a day like this, did you? Shangguan Yingying, don't be complacent. I should have killed you directly at that time. Chu Yunyao's eyes were gloomy. It was really a mistake that led to everlasting regret. At that time, Shangguan Yingying was just a little grasshopper that she could pinch to death at will. Now, she could control her life and death. She hated it very much. If she had known it, she should have been more decisive. Why should she worry about Master Long's opinion? It was best to rush over and kill Shangguan Yingying directly. It's a pity that you didn't do it at that time. It's useless to say this now. Shangguan Yingying raised her eyebrows and said with a smile, now that you have fallen into my hands, there is only one way out. I won't make the same mistake as you. With that, Shangguan Yingying's eyes flashed with a fierce light. Since she was born, she had never been treated like that. Now, thinking of all the torture that Chu Yunyao had done to her at that time, she also gnashed her teeth. Slap. Shangguan Yingying slapped Chu Yunyao's face loudly. She deeply remembered that every time she said a word, Chu Yunyao would slap her in the face. At that time, she secretly swore that as long as she was still alive, she would definitely return this to Chu Yunyao in double. Suddenly slapped by Shangguan Yingying, Chu Yunyao couldn't help glaring at her. However, as soon as she said a word, she was stared back by Bailey Hongzhuang. Now she was surrounded by Bailey Hongzhuang and others. There was no possibility of leaving. If she dared to do anything, she would die immediately. When she thought of this, she could only force herself to hold it in. Her mind was constantly thinking of a way to leave. But Shangguan Yingying mercilessly slapped her again. Chu Yunyao, you must have felt like this when you slapped me, right? Shangguan Yingying's pitch-black eyes flashed with a cold light. Her voice was cold and emotionless. Now, I will return everything to you so that you can properly experience this feeling. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in everyone's line of sight. Seeing this person appear, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but raise their eyebrows. Speaking of which, the reason why this matter had become like this was all because of this person. Duan Huali. When Chu Yunyao saw Duan Huali appear, her eyes instantly lit up with joy. Hyunjun and the others also looked at Duan Huali. The reason why Chu Yunyao would find trouble with Bailey Hongzhuang was entirely because of him. Duan Huali just heard that there was a conflict between Bailey Hongzhuang and Chu Yunyao, so he wanted to come and have a look. After all, he was also at the scene when there was a conflict in the resource hall last time. It was not until he arrived that he realized that this conflict had erupted so fiercely that it was completely beyond his imagination. Chapter 3881. Hearing this, Duan Huali looked at Chu Yunyao and saw that Chu Yunyao no longer had her usual arrogant appearance. Her face was completely swollen like a pig's head, and blood was still flowing from the corners of her lips. She couldn't even speak clearly. On the other side, Hyunjun was holding Chu Yunshang's hand. Obviously, she ignored Chu Yunyao's appearance, which made him a little unbelievable. According to his understanding, Chu Yunshang had always been very good to Chu Yunyao. If not, she would not have made such a choice at the beginning. But now she ignored Chu Yunyao. Could it be that after such a long time, she finally figured it out? Chu Yunyao climbed to Duan Huali's side and pulled Duan Huali's trousers tightly with both hands. Duan Huali, you must save me. They don't care about me. If you don't save me, I will die today. Duan Huali frowned. Since the last time he heard that Bailey Hongzhuang and others had a conflict with Chu Yunyao before leaving Penglai Palace, he knew that Chu Yunyao must have gone to trouble Bailey Hongzhuang and others. Over the years, Chu Yunyao had done this kind of thing a lot. Fortunately, Bailey Hongzhuang was fine, so he didn't take it to heart. It was just that he didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang and some people would be so powerful. As soon as they came back, they tortured Chu Yunyao to such a situation. It was reasonable to say that Hyunjuan's strength had already reached the first stage of star aura. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others should not be his opponents at all. Was it possible that Hyunjun hated Chu Yunyao, so he was unwilling to help? However, if this was the case, Chu Yunshang would not ignore Chu Yunyao. For a time, Duan Huali's mood was also very complicated. He couldn't understand the situation in front of him. Bailey Hongzhuang and others looked at Duan Huali coldly. They didn't have a good impression of this person. In the end, the reason why Shangguan Yingying was treated like this was entirely because of Duan Huali. Di Baichen's eyes turned cold when he saw Duan Huali. He clearly remembered how Duan Huali had provoked him when he had tried to attract Bailey Hongzhuang's attention. He remembered clearly how Duan Huali had looked down on him. Showing such an expression in front of his wife was already a great insult to him. Back then, because he wasn't strong enough, he could only endure it for the time being. But now, everything was different from back then. Yunsha? Duan Huali couldn't help but ask. However, before Chu Yunshang could speak, Hyunjuan's voice rang out first. Junior brother Duan, Yunshang isn't that familiar with you. You should call her junior sister Chu. Hearing this, Duan Huali was stunned and looked a little embarrassed. Duan Huali, you don't have to pay attention to them. Hyunjun is completely a despicable and shameless villain. He actually persuaded my sister to leave me alone. My sister is also obsessed and actually agreed to him. Chu Yunyao said and looked at Chu Yunshang fiercely. Chu Yunshang, from today onwards, we are no longer friends. From now on, you are no longer my sister. Yunyao. Chu Yunshang's expression was complicated, and her mind was also full of thoughts. She did not know if Duan Huali would join them. Would it be possible to defeat Bailey Hongzhuang and the others? Chapter 3882. Although Duan Huali didn't have a complete understanding of this matter, he had a rough idea. With Chu Yunshang's temperament, she would not ignore Chu Yunyao unless she had no choice. In this way, there was only one explanation. Junior sister Bailey, I don't know if you can spare Chu Yunyao this time for my sake? Duan Huali couldn't help but ask. Listening to Duan Huali's words, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips evoked a playful arc, and she sneered, "Why should I give you face?" As soon as this remark came out, Duan Huali couldn't help but be stunned, and his expression was a little embarrassed. Bailey Hongzhuang's rhetorical question was tantamount to giving him face. For the sake of my previous friendship with you, you should be magnanimous and let her go this time. Duan Huali continued. When Chu Yunshang saw that Duan Huali was willing to speak for her at this time, she couldn't help but be moved, and her eyes became more and more affectionate. She knew that Duan Huali couldn't have no feelings for her at all. That's where you're wrong. We've never been friends before. Bailey Hongzhuang stretched out a finger and shook it. This is all because of you. If it weren't for you, how could Chu Yunyao take Yingying away? Yingying wouldn't be tortured by Chu Yunyao. Now you want me to let Chu Yunyao go? Instead of pleading for Chu Yunyao now, you might as well think about how to plead for yourself. Duan Huali's face suddenly became ugly. Being refuted by Bailey Hongzhuang again and again, he naturally lost face. What? Does junior sister Bailey want to do something to me? At this moment, Di Beichen stood in front of Bailey Hongzhuang and looked at Duan Huali coldly. I'm the one who wants to hurt you. Hearing Di Beichen's words, Duan Huali was slightly stunned. Then he chuckled and said, Junior brother Di seems to have a lot of opinions about me. You're wrong, Di Beichen said slowly. Oh. Duan Huali was a little surprised. Does junior brother Di not have anything against me? Di Beichen's eyes were cold. I don't have a problem with you. I want to kill you. Di Beichen's lips curled into a cold arc as he looked at Duan Huali with a smile that was not a smile. Everyone wanted to kill Chu Yunyao as soon as they came back, and for him, the one he wanted to kill the most was Duan Huali. This guy dared to flirt with his most beloved woman in front of him. He had already vowed to kill this guy. As soon as these words came out, everyone sighed and their faces were filled with surprise. Di Beichen is too domineering. He said that he wanted to kill Duan Huali as soon as he opened his mouth. It's really surprising. In fact, this is not surprising. As early as a few months ago, Di Beichen said at the transmission array that he would be rude to Duan Huali. Now, this is also expected. Duan Huali is a womanizer. Bailey Hongzhuang is so beautiful. It's impossible for Duan Huali not to have any thoughts about her. Didn't this offend Di Beichen? After hearing these words, Chu Yunyao and Chu Yunshang's faces suddenly changed a little. Duan Huali was stunned for a moment. After reacting, he chuckled and said, Junior brother Di, your tone is a little too big. Whether it's big or not, let's see. Chapter 3883. He originally wanted to deal with Duan Huali after dealing with Chu Yunyao. Since Duan Huali was already here, he might as well deal with him together and save himself the trouble of looking for him in the future. When Duan Huali discovered that Di Beichen had already reached the second order of star magnate, his face could not help but flash with a thick shock. Suddenly, he looked at Chu Yunshang with a hint of understanding. It turned out that it was not that He Yunjun was unwilling to save Chu Yunyao, but that he was not Di Beichen's opponent and could not help. Di Beichen's fist rapidly enlarged in Duan Huali's eyes, mixed with a fierce qi, directly blasting the air and attacking him. Duan Huali understood that Di Beichen was not joking. He really wanted to take his life. However, his movements were not fast. When Di Beichen's fist was about to reach him, he also met it with a punch. Bang! The qi scattered. Duan Huali's face changed a little, and then his figure took 2 steps back. According to his judgment, Di Beichen had just broken through the second order of star magnate. He should not be his opponent, so he dealt with it very calmly. However, he did not expect Di Beichen's punch to be able to force him to retreat. How could this be? A storm raged in Duan Huali's heart. This level of strength was actually not the slightest bit weaker than his. Thinking back to the beginning, Di Beichen was just a grasshopper that could be pinched to death at will in his eyes. It was just that he wanted to get Bailey Hongzhuang's heart, so he did not plan to make a move himself. What's more, Bailey Hongzhuang and others were deeply valued by Master Long. He was also unwilling to offend Master Long. It was a pity that the people he sent did not succeed. Instead, it gave Di Beichen a chance to grow. Your strength, how did it become so strong? Looking at Duan Huali's surprised expression, Di Beichen ignored it. Why should I tell you? As soon as he finished speaking, Di Beichen launched another attack. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze fell on the 2 people who were fighting. She understood Di Beichen's hatred for Duan Huali. Previously, she had been asking Di Beichen to endure. Now, she finally had the chance to take revenge. Revenge was a dish best served cold. Fortunately, they did not have to wait for too long. Now, they could finally hold their heads high. Bang bang bang. The first exchange between Bewitching and Duan Huali was the most powerful collision yet. The terrifying killing intent that leaked out from Bewitching's body clearly indicated that he wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to take Duan Huali's life. Qi continued to explode. The two people's movements were as fast as lightning. As they entangled with each other, the crowd was dazzled. It seems that junior brother D wants to take revenge this time. Chu Jinfeng raised his eyebrows slightly, a look of interest flashing in his eyes. As for the grievances between Bewitching and Duan Huali, it could be said that he was very clear about it. Who let Duan Huali, this guy, take liberties with other people's wives? Any man with a bit of backbone would not be able to swallow this. I admire men like junior brother D. Renzime's eyes flashed with joy. Duan Huali should be taught a lesson. Renziheng, between junior brother D and Duan Huali, who do you think has a higher chance of winning? Chu Jinfeng could not help but ask. Although Bewitching had broken through to level 2, Duan Huali was also a very famous expert. Chapter 3884. Bewitching will definitely win. At this moment, a cold but firm voice rang out. Rin Ziheng and the others couldn't help but look at the source of the voice, only to find that it was Mo Yunjue not far away. The three of them couldn't help but look at each other. Although today was the first time they met Mo Yunjue, they could feel that his strength was very tyrannical, and he was extremely cold. His whole body exuded a kind of aura that didn't allow strangers to approach him. Therefore, even if they were quite familiar with Bewitching and the others, there was a certain distance between them and Mo Yunjue. Junior brother, how can you be so sure? Chu Jinfeng thought for a moment and asked. At the same time, he wanted to test whether Mo Yunjue was an extremely difficult person to get along with. Mo Yunjue's gaze fell on Bewitching in front of him and slowly said, if this Duan Huali's strength is higher than Bewitching's, then there may be a chance of winning, but since their cultivation is the same, Duan Huali is definitely not Bewitching's opponent. As soon as these words came out, Ren Ziheng and the others were surprised. Mo Yunjue's words were very domineering, as if he had extreme confidence in Bewitching's strength. Ziren also couldn't help but look at Mo Yunjue. It seemed that Bewitching was right. Although Mo Yunjue and he were originally rivals, Mo Yunjue was a very magnanimous gentleman, not a sinister villain. He Yunjun, Chu Yunshang, and Chu Yunyao's eyes all focused on Duan Huali, but the three of them had different thoughts. Because of the past between Duan Huali and Chu Yunshang, He Yunjun didn't have any good impression of Duan Huali. Although they didn't fight on normal days, they still looked at each other with disgust. Moreover, this matter was entirely caused by Duan Huali, and he loathed this person's style to a certain extent. Chu Yunyao looked at Duan Huali with a face full of hope. Her whole mental appearance had become completely different from before. Now, in her eyes, Duan Huali was a hero who had come to save her. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Shangguan Yingying and said, "Yingying, Beichen will take care of Duan Huali. You don't have to worry. You just need to vent your anger." Duan Huali was only a level 2 astral radiance cultivator. With their current strength, Duan Huali could not do anything. As long as Beichen made a move, Duan Huali would have no chance of winning. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Shangguan Yingying smiled and nodded. She naturally understood Beichen's strength. Okay. Chu Yunyao saw that Shangguan Yingying wanted to attack her again, and quickly said, "Shangguan Yingying, Duan Huali has come to save me. If you dare to attack me again, I won't let you go." "In your dreams." Shangguan Yingying kicked Chu Yunyao directly. "Do you still want to leave? That's impossible." Speaking of this, Shangguan Yingying suddenly chuckled. "Chu Yunyao, don't say that I'm not good enough for you. Haven't you always liked Duan Huali? Today, I'll let you both go to the Yellow Springs. When you go to the underworld, you can be companions. This can be considered as fulfilling one of your wishes." Chu Yunyao's eyes burned with anger, and the yuan energy in her body gushed out instantly. "Even if I want to die, I will never let you live." Chapter 3885. Shangguan Yingying obviously didn't expect that Chu Yunyao would suddenly fight back and couldn't react for a moment. Be careful! When Xiren hurriedly called out and immediately wanted to rush to Shangguan Yingying's side. Unfortunately, there was a certain distance between them and it was too late for him to do so. Chu Yunyao's eyes flashed with excitement and pride. Although she was not Bailey Hongzhuang's opponent now, as long as she killed Shangguan Yingying, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others would definitely be in incomparable pain. Then she would be able to vent her anger. However, just as Chu Yunyao's attack was about to land on Shangguan Yingying, Bailey Hongzhuang's fist directly hit Chu Yunyao's body. Bang! With a sound, Chu Yunyao's figure flew out and landed heavily on the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust. Chu Yunyao fell to the ground. Just as she wanted to get up, she spat out a mouthful of blood. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't show any mercy in that palm strike just now. Chu Yunyao was naturally seriously injured by the full strength of a first-rank starlight. Yingying, are you okay? Bailey Hongzhuang asked with concern. Shangguan Yingying shook her head. You acted in time. I'm fine. When Xiren also ran to Shangguan Yingying's side. After seeing that Shangguan Yingying was safe, he was completely relieved. Bailey Hongzhuang turned her gaze to Chu Yunyao and slowly walked to her side. Chu Yunyao, I didn't expect you to have the courage to fight back. Chu Yunyao smiled coldly, her lips and teeth full of blood. You acted quickly just now, otherwise I would have killed Shangguan Yingying. Looking at Chu Yunyao's proud appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with coldness. Chu Yunyao, looking at your proud appearance, I really feel that it's a bit of an eyesore. Chu Yunyao chuckled. Bailey Hongzhuang, everything is not over yet. You don't have to make a conclusion too early. Maybe the one who dies in the end is you, not me. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged. Unfortunately, I won't give you that chance. As soon as these words came out, Chu Yunyao could not help but be stunned. Before she could react, Bailey Hongzhuang punched her dantian. Bang! Another voice sounded. Then, everyone was shocked to find that Chu Yunyao's entire body suddenly deflated like a balloon. Chu Yunyao's face suddenly showed an extremely painful expression. She couldn't control her body and knelt down directly. Her face became extremely pale, and cold sweat oozed out uncontrollably. She clutched her dantian in agony and stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in disbelief. You actually destroyed my cultivation? I asked you to be obedient. If you don't want to, then I can only destroy your cultivation to make you obedient. Bailey Hongzhuang's hands were around her chest, and her delicate face was full of indifference. Yunyao. Chu Yunshang couldn't help but call out after seeing that Chu Yunyao's cultivation had been destroyed. However, Chu Yunyao just glanced at her coldly. I've become like this now. Are you happy? The cultivators present couldn't help but gasp when they saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had destroyed Chu Yunyao's cultivation. Chapter 3886. Chu Yunyao's face was ashen, and her eyes were filled with tears. Once she lost her cultivation, she would become a complete waste. For so many years, she had always been proud of her cultivation. She had never thought that one day her cultivation would be destroyed. Instead of that, she really felt that it was better to die like this. What was the point of living for a waste? For Chu Yunyao's strong despair, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were extremely cold. You can't live if you want to. If Chu Yunyao hadn't caused trouble herself, how could she have fallen to this point? Since she dared to do such a thing at the beginning, she should be prepared to bear all this now. Yingying, she can't hurt you anymore. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. Shangguan Yingying was also surprised that Bailey Hongzhuang acted so neatly. However, Chu Yunyao had humiliated her many times before because she was strong enough. Now that she had lost her cultivation, she felt very happy. Unrighteous deeds are doomed to destruction. Serves you right for ending up like this. Shangguan Yingying looked at Chu Yunyao coldly. If it hadn't been for Bailey Hongzhuang's speed, she might have been seriously injured by Chu Yunyao now. Thinking of this, she felt a burst of displeasure and immediately stepped on Chu Yunyao's body again. Puff! Chu Yunyao spat out another mouthful of blood. Her injury was very serious. In addition, Bailey Hongzhuang destroyed her cultivation. her body had already been weak to a certain extent. At this moment, she was only kicked by Shangguan Yingying, but she couldn't bear it. "You're arrogant." Shangguan Yingying's eyes were cold. "Let's see how you can be arrogant now." After seeing Chu Yunyao being humiliated like this, Chu Yunshang's eyes flashed with a strong, unbearable light. She couldn't help but say, "Junior sister Shangguan, Yunyao's cultivation has been destroyed and she has been taught a lesson. Why don't you let her live?" No matter what, Chu Yunyao was her sister. Seeing her sister suffer such humiliation, she was also extremely painful in her heart. Hearing this, without waiting for Shangguan Yingying to speak, Chu Yunyao had already angrily said, "Chu Yunshang, you don't need to come here to pretend to be kind. Since you've already decided to abandon me, why are you pretending to be a good person now? It's none of your business whether I live or die." "Yunyao." Chu Yunshang frowned. She couldn't do anything about it. If she could, she really wished that none of this had happened. Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but look at Chu Yunshang and said lightly, "Since Chu Yunyao doesn't appreciate your feelings, you don't need to think too highly of yourself. Since you've already made your decision, why are you still acting like this?" She didn't like Chu Yunshang either. If Chu Yunshang decided to completely ignore Chu Yunyao after leaving, she might appreciate it a little. Now she really did it and wanted to set up a chastity memorial arch. She also felt very disgusted. He Yunjun took Chu Yunshang's hand and advised, "Yunshang, if you don't want to be buried with Chu Yunyao, then don't say anything. The current situation is not good for us. If you waver your position like this, maybe they will kill you directly." Chu Yunshang nodded helplessly. Now, she didn't dare to say anything more. Di Beichen and Duan Huali's battle was in full swing. The tyrannical qi burst out, and wherever it passed, it was a mess. Chapter 3887. The more Duan Huali fought, the more shocked he became, because he realized that Di Beichen was so young, but his combat experience was so terrifying. Originally, he thought that even if Di Beichen's strength was comparable to his, he would still have a certain advantage in terms of combat experience. However, Di Beichen's performance was flawless, and he couldn't find a single flaw. This was a bit too terrifying. Could it be that all the cultivators who came out of the demon training tower had such terrifying combat strength? After Di Beichen fought with Duan Huali for a while, he had a certain understanding of Duan Huali's strength, and the coldness in his eyes became more and more intense. In the next moment, Di Beichen and Duan Huali separated. "After probing for so long, you still haven't revealed your true strength. Now it's time for us to see the real deal." Di Beichen's voice was cold, and his deep eyes rippled with a cold light. Hearing Di Beichen's words, Duan Huali couldn't help but be stunned, and his eyes flashed with a strong sense of astonishment. Probing? Could it be that he used all his strength to fight with Di Beichen, but to Di Beichen, it was just a probe? Is it not? Di Beichen asked back. Duan Huali's expression was a bit ugly. Facing Di Beichen's words, he couldn't weaken his momentum and immediately said, "Yes, it's time for us to see the real deal. Today, you're the one who's looking for trouble with me. If you die in my hands, don't regret it." Hearing this, Di Beichen sneered, "You're overestimating yourself. There's only one possibility today, and that is that you'll die in my hands." In the next moment, a vigorous aura erupted from Di Beichen's body, and a rich blood color mixed with darkness appeared in front of everyone's eyes. A faint smell of blood spread in the air, and Di Beichen's entire body was shrouded in a bloody aura. However, those who had seen Di Beichen's bloody aura before would find that the bloody aura he displayed this time was slightly different from usual. "Xiren, why do I feel that Beichen's bloody aura seems to have something more than usual?" Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but look at Xiren with a trace of curiosity in her eyes. Xiren nodded slightly. "I think so too. Maybe it has something to do with Beichen's murderous aura this time." Until now, even they didn't know what effect of murderous aura had. Now that they had the opportunity to see Di Beichen's display, they were very much looking forward to it. After Di Beichen displayed the blood chi field, everyone was surprised to find that Di Beichen's aura had improved. It can't be. This bloody aura is actually so abnormal. Di Beichen is already a Starlight Realm cultivator, but it can still increase his cultivation. The extent of this increase is too terrifying. This is the power of the blood chi field. That's why there are so many cultivators fighting to be the first to obtain it. But according to what I know, it seems that after a cultivator reaches the Starlight Realm, the bloody aura can only increase their cultivation by 1 level. This is because the gap between each level is too big. Under everyone's curious gazes, Bewitching's aura directly increased from Starlight Realm Level 2 to Starlight Realm Level 3. Seeing this, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Although being able to increase by 1 level was very shocking, it was still easier to accept than increasing by 2 levels. Chapter 3888. The effect of this blood chi field is really amazing. I'm really envious of it. It's a pity that I didn't have that ability back then. Chu Jinfeng's eyes were filled with envy. When it comes to the ability to fight above one's level, the cultivator who has obtained the inheritance of the blood refining tower is number 1. This is the reason why the blood refining tower is so attractive. Ren Ziheng couldn't help but sigh, a genius inheritor that only appears once every few hundred years. The inheritance he possesses is naturally not something that ordinary people can obtain. It's not surprising that it has such a heaven-defying effect. Ren Zimei nodded. Junior brother D is so young, but now he already has the combat strength of a third-order star magnate. This is really terrifying. Originally, I was a little worried about the result of the fight between him and Duan Huali, but now it seems that he will definitely win. A smile appeared on Ren Zimei's face. Bewitching had the means to improve his cultivation, but Duan Huali didn't. As a result, Duan Huali was bound to be at a disadvantage. In today's battle, they had won a complete victory. After Duan Huali saw Bewitching's aura improve, his eyes suddenly froze and his face became ugly. He couldn't help but look at Chu Yunyao, who was not far away, only to see that Chu Yunyao was now half dead. Her whole person was already disheartened. To be honest, not only was Chu Yunyao's cultivation destroyed, but she was also seriously injured. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang and the others didn't take her life now, she would definitely not be able to survive. Thinking of this, Duan Huali couldn't help but regret. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have joined in the fun today. Now, he was in deep trouble. At this moment, Duan Huali didn't have any intention to continue fighting with Bewitching. Originally, he had already used all his skills, but he could only fight to a draw with Bewitching. Now that Bewitching's aura had increased, he had fallen into a disadvantageous position. He didn't need to fight to know that he would lose. If he was defeated by Bewitching, he was afraid that Bewitching would not show mercy. After all, he had expressed his interest in Bailey Hongzhuang in front of Bewitching. Therefore, Bewitching would definitely want to kill him. Duan Huali could not help but look around, his mind wondering if there was a chance for him to escape. Unfortunately, Bewitching seemed to have seen through his thoughts. His aura was tightly locked onto him, making it impossible for him to escape. Damn it! Duan Huali cursed in his heart. He really didn't expect that he would fall into such a situation today. No matter what, he couldn't fail at such an easy task. He had to escape today. But as far as the people present were concerned, there was really no one who could help him. Duan Huali, you don't have to think of a way to escape. I won't give you any chance. Bewitching directly exposed Duan Huali's thoughts. Hearing Bewitching's words, Duan Huali's face turned cold. He said, I don't have any thoughts of escaping. You're overthinking it. If that's the case, then that's even better. Bewitching heard this and didn't continue to argue with Duan Huali. In the next moment, the flowing light sword appeared in his hand. With a flash of his body, he charged towards Duan Huali at lightning speed. The difference between the third level and the second level of the star rays was not small. Bewitching's attack forced Duan Huali to retreat step by step. Ding ding ding. Chapter 3889. The fighting strength of a third-order star magnate was very terrifying. There was only a gap of 1 order, but Bewitching's fighting strength at this moment was much stronger than before. Duan Huali was originally able to fight on par with Bewitching, but at this moment, he was completely forced back by Bewitching. He could only try his best to resist Bewitching's attack, but there was no possibility of counterattack. Terrifying sword chi burst out in all directions. Wherever the two people passed, sword marks appeared on the ground. It was very terrifying. The surrounding cultivators all quickly retreated. The destructive power of this kind of cultivation was extremely terrifying. After seeing this scene, Niu Zhuang couldn't help but rejoice. Fortunately, he had already decided not to be enemies with Di Beichen. Now it seemed that he really had foresight. If Di Beichen had displayed such strength at that time, he was afraid that he would have died in Di Beichen's hands. The younger generation would surpass the older. At this moment, there was only this thought in his mind. At the age of 20, he had broken through to the third-order star magnate. His future potential was really not ordinary. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others stood quietly at the side, watching the battle between Di Beichen and Duan Huali. Chu Yunyao was now half dead and had no influence on them. Instead of directly killing Chu Yunyao, it was better to let her calm down in this pain for a moment. Hongzhuang, Beichen's current strength is really amazing. Shengguan Yingying couldn't help but sigh. When they returned to the outside world again, Situ Yen and the others would be shocked to know that Di Beichen's strength had improved. Yes, Beichen's appearance now is completely different from when he first came to Penglai Island. Xiren's face was filled with emotion. However, this is the Beichen I have always known. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. Beichen's strength improvement is indeed astonishing. Now, the heavenly mandate body has only just shown its ability. In the long run, I'm afraid that our cultivation won't be able to catch up. Even though it was very difficult for her cultivation to catch up with Di Beichen, Bailey Hongzhuang was also very happy. Seeing Di Beichen's strength improve made her happier than her own. Di Beichen's attacks were extremely fierce, and the angle of his sword was also tricky and ruthless. After staying in the Demon Tower for so long, they took people's lives as soon as they made a move. Only in this way could they win more efficiently. Duan Huali had never been to the Demon Refining Pagoda before, so he was naturally unfamiliar with this kind of fighting style. Under Di Beichen's offensive, he was surrounded by danger. If he was not careful, he could be seriously injured by Di Beichen. This feeling made him extremely uncomfortable. The flowing light sword flew, bringing with it a bloody light. When Di Beichen withdrew the flowing light sword, everyone found that Duan Huali's body had wounds. His originally neat clothes were now covered with bloodstains, and his hair had become extremely messy. Where was the elegant and proud appearance from before? Duan Huali is unlucky today. I'm afraid he will stay here forever. The cultivators present shook their heads and sighed. They didn't expect such an ending. Duan Huali stayed in Penglai Palace. Who knows how many women have been harmed by him? If he dies, it's a good thing. Chu Yunyao happened to be his companion. He won't be lonely on the road to the Yellow Springs. Chapter 3890. Duan Huali's face was gloomy, as black as the bottom of a pot. The pain in his body was far less than the pain in his heart at the moment. In the face of a grasshopper that he could pinch to death that will now control his life and death, this gap was undoubtedly huge. He wanted to let Bailey Hongzhuang know how much stronger he was than Di Beichen, but now the situation was a direct slap to his face. Chu Yunshang and Chu Yunyao's eyes fell on Duan Huali, and their hearts were full of worry. Chu Yunyao was now completely disheartened, but she didn't want Duan Huali to die like this. If she had been destroyed by Bailey Hongzhuang before, then she wouldn't have asked Duan Huali for help, and wouldn't have dragged Duan Huali into the water. He Yunjun couldn't help but look at Chu Yunshang beside him. After seeing the deep worry in the latter's eyes, he couldn't help but frown, and a few wisps of unhappiness appeared between his eyebrows. When he pursued Chu Yunshang, he knew that Chu Yunshang's heart was tied to Duan Huali, but because of Chu Yunyao, they had to separate. He thought that after such a long time, Chu Yunshang had already changed her mind, but he didn't expect that she was still so worried about Duan Huali at this moment. Could it be that his sincerity these days had no meaning to Chu Yunshang? Thinking of this, an unspeakable hatred also spread in He Yunjuan's heart. Boom! A shocking sound resounded. Di Beichen and Duan Huali's attacks collided fiercely. The whole ground seemed to tremble, and there was a feeling of heaven and earth shattering. Everyone only saw the two bright lights colliding with each other. Immediately after, they felt the earth-shattering power. They were all shocked. However, amidst the dazzling light, no one knew what was going on with Bewitching and Duan Huali. It was not until a muffled groan was heard that a figure fell heavily to the ground like a parabola. Everyone's eyes narrowed as they realized that this person was Duan Huali. When everyone saw Duan Huali's miserable appearance, they couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Duan Huali's clothes had long been torn by Bewitching's sword, revealing bits of blood. Now that they were mixed with dust and mud, he looked even more battered and exhausted. Most importantly, Duan Huali's face was extremely pale. It was obvious that he had suffered a heavy blow. On the contrary, Bewitching looked as if nothing had happened. He still had a graceful and elegant appearance, without the slightest bit of disorder. This kind of contrast in strength made everyone sigh. "You've lost," Bewitching said slowly. Following Bewitching's words, Duan Huali's face became increasingly gloomy, but he couldn't say anything. He had indeed lost, and he had lost very badly. In the next moment, Bewitching looked at Duan Huali, his eyes cold and indifferent. "Back then, I had said that I would definitely kill you. Today, I can also fulfill this promise." Duan Huali's pupils suddenly shrank, and he immediately struggled to stand up. He didn't want to die here. However, Bewitching's movements were extremely fast. With a wave of his right hand, the flowing light sword directly pierced out, mercilessly attacking Duan Huali. Seeing this, Duan Huali immediately wanted to dodge, but unfortunately he had just been severely injured and couldn't quickly dodge. Chapter 3891. The appearance of this figure was beyond everyone's expectations. Everyone looked at Chu Yunyao, who was standing in front of Duan Huali, in astonishment. The flowing light sword mercilessly pierced Chu Yunyao's body. She couldn't help but groan. Blood overflowed from the corner of her mouth, and she slowly fell down. "Yunyao!" Duan Huali stared at the figure in front of him in a daze. As if he had been hit by a heavy blow, he quickly stepped forward and caught Chu Yunyao's body. He had never thought that Chu Yunyao would actually stand in front of him. Chu Yunyao looked at Duan Huali, and a smile slowly appeared on her lips. "Huali, it's good that you can still hug me." She looked at Duan Huali's face with infatuation. She reached out her hand and slowly covered it. Her eyes were blurred and happy. "I wanted to do this a long time ago, but you never gave me a chance." "Yunyao." Duan Huali held Chu Yunyao's hand. His eyes were full of pity and pity. "Why are you so stupid?" Chu Yunyao smiled faintly. "I've been abolished and seriously injured. I definitely can't live. It's all my fault. If it weren't for me being too stingy, things wouldn't have turned out like this. Sister is right. You've all let go of this matter. I'm the only one who's still stubborn. It's just that, Huali, for so many years, I've never liked anyone until I met you. I'm not as free and easy as you. I can't let go just like that. I Chu Yunyao like someone for a lifetime." Tears slowly fell from the corners of Chu Yunyao's eyes. "I know I'm wrong, but if I don't do something related to you, I really can't bear it. Even if you hate me, at least you still remember me. After I leave, don't forget me, okay?" Chu Yunyao stared at Duan Huali and pleaded. Duan Huali nodded repeatedly, his face full of tension. "No, you'll be fine." For a long time, he only felt that Chu Yunyao was too willful and unreasonable. Compared with Chu Yunyao, Chu Yunshang was undoubtedly much more mature than her. Over the years, Chu Yunyao had been doing these little things. In fact, he was very tired of it, but for the sake of Chu Yunshang, he ignored it. However, he forgot one thing. The reason why Chu Yunyao did this was that she cared for him. In contrast, Chu Yunshang's feelings were much lighter than Chu Yunyao's. When Bailey's eyes, a strange look appeared on Yunyao's eyes. They always thought that the reason why Chu Yunyao did this was because of her strong possessiveness, destroying the mutual love between Chu Yunshang and Duan Huali, but they never thought that her feelings for Duan Huali were so strong. Originally, there was a certain distance between Chu Yunyao and Duan Huali. After she was seriously injured, she had already suffered great pain. But after seeing that Duan Huali was injured, she tried to get close to Duan Huali. Until Bewitching's flowing lightsword flew out, Chu Yunyao burst out with a very fast speed and blocked in front of Duan Huali. Thinking about it, only when the person you care about the most is in danger can you burst out with such speed. They only thought that Chu Yunyao was vicious, selfish and ruthless before, but they didn't realize the depth of her feelings for Duan Huali. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.